name.
So yeah, anyways, long story short, we have in-county and out-of-county ownership. It's not a one-to-one because you have, people that live in Leadville, but they might own multiple houses. But we're working on refining that to be just housing. So it's not counting vacant land, because there's a lot of institutional vacant landholders in the county. So I have that data. I didn't get a chance to make that map today, but I will have it done tomorrow. Yeah, just refining the in-county and out-of-county homeowners and parcels with improvements.
Awesome.
And then
Thanks,
from
Bryce.
there, we can think creatively of how to get it even more refined, right, to that actually resident versus non-resident. That's gonna be tough.
Interesting to
Well, that's
know
when you
what
look
that
at the
is now.
assessor database and see where their mailing address
Well,
is.
that's what we're
Zip
using.
code,
Okay.
yeah, we used to do.
So, there's folks like Bill Corn that owns
Yeah.
a lot of houses, so
Yeah.
but he only lives in one, so we gotta
Yeah,
kind of suss that out afterwards.
yeah.
What percentage of occupancy would trigger a tax like that? If they're here,
To be
what
determined,
percentage of a month, I wonder?
right? I don't know what they would come down
Yeah,
on.
I'd be
That's-
interested. I don't know if we said it was from counties, that's only Pitkin and Broomfield,
Weld,
and Oakweld is home rule,
of course, like a lot more.
yeah. But they don't seem like the type that would wanna impose
I
that
didn't
kind
know
of
Weld,
tax.
I didn't know Weld is. Yeah.
They did it so they could, when they were going through the North Colorado secession
Oh,
movement,
yeah.
they became a home rule so they could have more say over there.
Mhm.
So they could reduce the regulations on their own gas.
And there's 3 in the state now.
Denver, Broomfield,
Yeah.
Pitkin and Weld.
4, yeah, 4.
Joey, I think a standard that I've seen is 180 days. And if you live there for more than that, then you're a resident, and fewer than that, then you're not. But I think it's currently difficult to do that in Colorado. So I don't even know that there's any vacancy taxes currently on the books in our state.
Gotcha, yeah, but that would be huge.
Well, and
50%.
even like
Wow.
voter registration, maybe, like, what,
That's another one we're gonna try, get the voter registration rolls. That's good, I'm gonna try to
Yeah,
get
but-
that.
Voter registration, I think, is just like, where do you live in your heart? Or where do you live most of the time? I don't know what the statute says about where you have to spend your time, but I honestly don't know.
Well, you can only be
You're-
registered in one place.
yeah.
Well,
And
right.
And I think you're, like, when you register, I guess just the first time, right, you have to show a proof of,
You have to, we have to show
Residency.
some type of
Yeah.
proof of residency, but that's overcomable, so.
yeah. So, yeah, not perfect either.
And that's what I'm hoping that we can engage with community builders, to really look at this moment in time, where are we, what are all our tools, what are all our options, to consider, as well as, I'm not going to do that again. Sorry, I think I didn't see anybody else watching us that was, except, there's a lot of people that watch us now, so.
Wow.
But,
Should have been here at 4 if they wanted to.
Yeah, really?
that's right, yeah, it's a little late for people to be joining it. And the other commissioners I know are at the school board meeting, so I don't think there's anybody else that would be here. Oh gosh, so yeah, engagement with community builders, so we know all the tools, what we can use, and what I was getting at is, the Housing Coalition has looked at a lot of this. They've had consultants look at some of the different short-term rental. It's been a while, and so that information is forever changing. But we'll go out and partner and find all the information that we can and bring that forward, but open to suggestions. Abby, I know you've got lots of connections. If there is anybody that you want to recommend or you want to participate, just let us know.
Yeah, I will say I've worked with community builders on two projects, and I've enjoyed working with them, just.
Good. They can get things moving, huh?
Yeah, and they're based in Glenwood, so it's,
They understand.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they've worked with, I think Silverton was one of their more recent projects, and it, fairly like community, more isolated, so they, but yeah, I've.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you all bring so much good insight to our work, so whatever way you'd like to participate as we're working on things, or if there's, just ways that you think that we should consider or become more engaged on a certain topic, just let us know, and we'll continue to report out. And once we have a more structured schedule on the STRs, we'll bring those forward, so that'll give a better idea of kind of where we've outlined the work, and we'll just come for consensus that it looks good, and then we'll continue to move forward.
One last point on
Sure.
short-term rentals, and it's a sideways point that goes to Howard's point earlier. The argument right now about short-term rentals is that the hotels are so poor, that the hotel quality is. And the hotels are saying, well, if we didn't have so much competition, we could afford to make our facilities nicer and have nicer hotels. That was an interesting point to come up.
Well, and there is.
So we're starving our hotels in town is what the argument is, and that it's a valid argument.
Right.
It's a fact.
It is, absolutely. And it's just not something that everybody thinks about. That the taxation part of it is huge, but at the same time, just the number of short-term rentals starving, that means that there's no way to fix the perceived problem. It was an interesting point that came up in city planning.
There is a market study being done right now on a hotel feasibility study that is being done, so it'll be interesting to see. There's some interest in the community, or from investors, and so Adam from the tourism. Yep, he is working on a feasibility study right now, so it'll be interesting to see where that comes out at too.
Very good.
I think if that higher tax comes in, or any monetary penalties, I call them penalties, but I think if that comes in, you're gonna see a lot of these short terms turn to full rentals,
Absolutely.
which is very necessary.
Yeah, and then, then strengthen the hotel option up again.
Yeah, it'll work both ways.
Right.
Great. Okay, great. Quick update on OHV. So I told you that you could refer to the Y and the FAQ document. They are on our website. And so let me, wrong place I'm trying to control. Just go there really quick. So these, let me screen share real quick. Oh, sorry. Trying to get everything, okay. Too many things happening here. So the Y document is on our website. We really wanted to go out and make sure the public knew why we were doing, why we were working on the work and the scope of the work that we're doing. So while we're doing short-term rentals, we're also working on creation of a road use guide. We're working on this with Public Works. To put together a tool that the county's never had before, really, to look at county roads and provide guidance to the public on how to, what is appropriate use. And then we are developing a special use permit because zoning doesn't control use on county roads. County roads aren't zoned. So we are working on a special use permit that is geared to just commercial users to be able to utilize county roads for recreational use, for commercial recreational use. One of the big takeaways from our listening session that we had is that we really need to work on youth education and giving the youth an opportunity for safe use. We have a huge problem with underage riders or young riders running from law enforcement and the danger that that puts them in. And so law enforcement will not chase them because of that risk. But probably everyone in this room has had an opportunity where they've seen a young rider that they were really concerned about the way in which they were on an OHV. So we really want to work on youth education and opportunity. We're hoping that we can engage with the OHV track. We've been told it's one of the best in the state, and it has a big draw, and so we're hoping that we can maybe use some of our local resources and then recreation to find out if we could do some programming or something to kind of help. And then enforcement, we're also working with law enforcement to look at our current enforcement techniques and then consider ways to heighten enforcement. And again, it's making sure that those young riders are safe. And so there's different strategies that we're looking at using so we can identify people that are not abiding by the ordinance and that we can make sure that we have more lawful use. One of the big things that we're also considering, just like we have some parallels to them, we've had a huge increase in degree of requests to hold pre-application meetings for outfitter and guides that want to utilize county roads for commercial OHV operations. And so that's why the moratorium was put in place, just to take a time out, evaluate what guiding we have right now that impacts roads. And again, is there a tipping point there? Is there the potential that we need to consider that there should be a cap on the amount of use in the idea of trying to create a balance between recreational or public and commercial use? And so that's part of the work that we're doing too, is looking at the impacts and the areas. Keep in mind, I think Howard, maybe the only planning commission member, but when we amended the code back in 16 or 18, I keep saying those were big amendment years. We did outfitting and guiding. We did not allow it. It became a prohibited use in the IM zone district. We did that largely because we were worried about the inherent risk of danger as well as trespass, and also that it should be preserved for the mineral resource and for local use.
And also
Trail
they
system.
were destroying the environment,
With
by
the
going on
tundra.
the tundra.
So, but we have operators that are operating up there, and the reason that they are operating in that area is because they are in most cases maybe staying strictly to the roads, but are suggesting they're only on the roadways, and those are free, those are not zoned. So that's why the activity is occurring there. It can't occur on the land parcels, but on the roadways, it's exempt from zoning. So that's why the special use permit is coming into place, to really look at that activity in areas like the IM, as well as, again, the saturation of use and the balance of use that's going on. So that's the OHV work that's being done. This is the why. It really gets into why we're doing it, and it really talks about, gives some good links to information. There's also the FAQ document, which just tried to bring a lot of the comments that we received in and address those. So we just went through kind of like the top kind of reoccurring questions that we got, and we answered those just to try to give some amount of education to the public on this. But we'll be going out to a work session or a town hall on this as well. And we will have STR OHV. I'm just teasing. We won't, because they're very separate from one another.
Well, but get them all in the same room.
That's true.
And
And I think just have food. We have to have food, we'll do it there.
Do we have agreements with the two outfitters that I know of here in town to stick to the roads currently? Because that wasn't the case for a long time. It would
So
be interesting to see this spring what
the
the trails
ones
look like.
in the city, the city doesn't require conditional use permit. They could require a business license. And so the two that I could think of, like the ATV tours.
And I guess I was just thinking of a voluntary agreement. I don't know that we'd be able to enforce anything, but is there a voluntary agreement for the two outfitters currently on each end of town to stick to those roads?
No, they
There's no real
just have a
guidance
business
there.
license. If their base of operations is in the city, then all they have is a business license. So they really haven't had an opportunity, and we don't, so we're trying to create that opportunity through the special use
Right.
permit.
So are
So,
they
right.
supposed to not operate this summer?
No, this moratorium is only on
New
any
ones,
new
right.
outfitter and guide. So if they were currently operating, they can continue to operate. We're just trying quickly to get the special use permit in place for them to have a summer opportunity at it.
Right, very good.
So, so yes, we've got a lot of work going on, on top of, the, applications. So then any questions on any of that? And feel free to reach out, give us your 2 cents, point us in directions you'd like us to take a deeper dive. Let us know if there's an area of any of this work that you'd like to participate with staff on any of the groundwork before we bring it back to you for review and presentation, but there'll be several times for you to check in with us. And anything else on OHV? Community planning and development, just our department updates, the feast that we already talked about, cloud permit, we're very excited about this. I think that we are going to be acquiring new software.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. We did some clever negotiation with Cloud Permit, but it's really exciting. It's gonna increase the whole level of service and communication with the building department as well as land use. It will create our meeting packets. It will do our updating online. It's just an amazing tool and software. We were in product development with Tyler for 4 years. And we never had any deliverables, so we're really excited. We anticipate this is gonna take us 8 weeks to do our onboarding. But we're set to start in May, no later than June 1. So we are gonna be doing it kind of in our busy period. They keep telling me it's not gonna be painful, and I'm
Oh, it'll be
trying
will
to
be.
get.
Don't believe a word a software developer says.
Yeah, this is a separate salesman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the main things it's going to improve?
So it will it will provide an incredible increase in our efficiencies of building our land use applications, referring them out, the communication that we have with the referral agents, as well as the communication that we have with you. It just automates so much of the manual steps that we do.
That's good.
It also creates our land use packets, automatically prepares us for meetings. And then on the building side, it will eventually become online inspections in the field, online scheduling, online payment, just a organization, like our building permits. I can't even tell you how many manual steps there are in permitting that will now become automated. So the level of service, it just reduces the amount of human error and also just increases communication and efficiency.
Yeah, I'll also include a laptop for each one of us members, so we don't have to print 100 pages all the time.
You have been talking about that for a while.
I
That
have.
needs to be our budget next year. We need to look at our budget. But you've been saying that for a while. And I don't know how I keep forgetting that.
It'll never happen.
Oh, don't say that. So, oh, and then Bryce. All right, let me stop talking. You get to talk.
No, I'm still getting my head on straight after 2 weeks away, but we're making some progress on the water enterprise stuff. We kind of know what we need to hire a resource engineer for, right? The scope of work we need them to kind of look around and create some creative solutions on how we can use existing water features that the state wants to get rid of because they don't have a legal right to exist. How we can maybe use those to, as a stopgap before we look at building our storage facility, a reservoir at the golf course or something like that. But that's all part of kind of assessing our water rights in their entirety and coming up with creative solutions on how to use them. The actual nuts and bolts of how to use it through the augmentation plan and the water enterprise is starting to kind of make some progress as well. And so we have some advice from Upper Arkansas Water Conservancy District down in Salida, who already handles the water enterprise, which they call Conservancy District for Chaffey County. And so they'll probably be handling a lot of the administration as we get the enterprise up and running. And then hopefully we can learn from them and bring that process in-house, right? But so we're just gonna have a lot of discussions coming up as we get the nitty-gritty of what the enterprise is, what the units of water that are gonna be available are, what the purpose of that water is for, right? I mean, it's probably gonna, I think the commissioners are leaning towards more restrictive. That water would be only able to be used for in-house domestic uses, at least for your first share. And so that would help us take this little tiny amount of water we have in Lake County that we actually have the right to and maximize the use of it, right? We have a tiny amount of water and a large amount of land we can use it on, but we're trying to come up with solutions to increase our water rights and increase our water capacity and also smartly use the little we have immediately to start making revenue, to plug a lot of gaps that the state has identified, right? A lot of people have little pleasure ponds and stuff in their front yards that they would have to augment. I mean, there is no legal right for that pond to exist. And we're talking 100 years of people building their own ponds that the state is now reanalyzing. And I can tell you they're reanalyzing it because of our water right diversion here near Lily Pond and this saddle. Turns out that most of the water is coming down towards Twin Lakes Village, but naturally, the majority of the water would go towards Box Creek and Corkscrew Creek. But right now, the Box Creek drainage does not exist because it's been totally obliterated by Titan AU's mining operation. And so the DNR believes that they're not in compliance with their special water supply plan. And so that's what's causing this entire reanalysis. It's where the entire Arkansas River basin is over allocated anyways. You know, as we deal with less and less water every year, especially here at the headwaters, they're really gonna come down hard. And so we have to get this water enterprise going to preserve any sort of water we want to use in whatever way we want to use it, right? And that's to be determined.
Especially since it's so limited here.
Right, yeah, so limited. And the other really big sticking point is we can't store our water in the two huge reservoirs we have. Because those are, all the space in those reservoirs owned by people
They
downstream.
aren't ours.
Yeah.
What a bummer.
Is there anything else you'd like me to touch on, Tim or Ann?
Just that we had talked about, I think we're gonna have a work session in May where you can just do, Bryce has got an amazing water presentation.
Yeah, that would be, I was just, I'm like, I,
Yeah.
as a person who travels over to the other side of the divide, like, I have no clue what goes on, like.
No, absolutely, I'd love to, I have a presentation kind of prepared that just lays out in basic terms, as basic as you can get to water rights, right?
Yeah.
Like what we have, what
Yeah.
the situation is.
Cool.
Yeah,
That would also be good for a public
Yeah.
presentation.
Yeah, and you talk, I mean, I meant to say that, but like kudos to the folks that pulled that meeting together. And like, yeah, any way you can use them, because they've already built the trust,
Absolutely.
you know, amongst the residents to be able to, so yeah, pushing that opportunity out, I think a lot of people would be interested, because it is just like, I mean, it's as, like that map, it's as old as that map. It's a very old, issue and historical ramifications that's like, should be endlessly fascinating to anyone that lives in this valley.
Oh, exactly, right, I mean, it's, Colorado water rights are a whole other animal, and they're the model that a lot of western states use, so if you know Colorado, you can extrapolate it elsewhere, but it's my opinion is it's a really good system, given that we're a place with limited water, you know? A lot of states, there is no water court system. It's determined by a staff member in a building in Denver, you know, essentially, right? In our system, we have water courts where any member can bring it to a regional court that's based on in its basin, and it's held by an expert judge that all they do is water law. And so that's an advantage I think we have.
You know,
Well, I do
before we get off the water and the map here, when you're looking at this map, realize that Twin Lakes and Turquoise are actually the size they used to be. But then when you look closely, you see where it's been outlined to what it is today. This shows you how much more water they took in to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
We get 170, not that an acre feet means how much an acre feet is, about over 300,000 gallons, but we get 175,000 acre feet of water through our Trans Mountain diversions every year, right? And that's water that, we have 12 of 24 diversions in the state right here in our county. But that's water that never, the western slope loses forever.
So we got 12 on the 24.
Mhm.
I'm a cat.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. We're just in that perfect spot where we have the one east facing drainage that tucks up into the mountains.
Because we're way up here.
Well, and I think that we'll be coming back to ask the planning commission to help inform the prioritization of that water as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then there's a current board, the Watershed Advisory Council, I would really like to see reconvene. It was formed in 2004 originally. It was never formally disbanded. It just hasn't actively met since 2019. And so I think we're at the point now where we need that kind of, citizen engagement, right? Where it's people that are interested, engaged, but also have the expertise.
And basically creating that recommending board, just like planning commission is for the board, but the watershed advisory, providing that same benefit for the board. Much to Cece's surprise, I have another project for her. Nothing that, my day just ended up back to back today, and I was hoping to talk to her a little bit. This is something that I've been talking to you all about and promising to deliver it, but now we have an opportunity to get that done. Is that I'm going to work with Cece, and we're going to develop that platform where we can create that Welcome to Lake County developer tool that we've been talking about for a long time. And so with her help, we're going to find a way to reach out to all of you. You can share your ideas, and then she will edit those and put them into a document that we'll share out, and you can provide comment, and we'll do a check-in on it. But we really want to get that tool up and going, and so please expect something from us that we will get that communication going, because that's something I've talked about for a while, and it's one of the things that has not been delivered yet. So we'll work on doing that. There is going to be some slight changes to the OWTS TOT on-site wastewater treatment systems and the transfer of title process. David Wilson joined our team at the beginning of the year, and he's working on some updates to those regulations. Mainly, they are going to add a definition to a bedroom. That's always, subjects are sized based on bedroom count, and he feels the need to add a definition for a bedroom, because that would provide guidance in both the direction of permitting as well as transfer of title. You can imagine it's a little clunky sometimes to come in and do the transfer of title that's required on all deed transfers, and try to bring some cohesiveness to older systems to make sure that they're functioning adequately and were they properly sized. So when there have been remodels along the way, and now we have more bedrooms than we started off, and so there's been a lot of growing pains in this development of the regulations and the permitting and the transfer of title process. And so we're really trying to work on making that very transparent, very sort of increasing it, or trying to create a better ease of user experience in going through that process. It has been kind of a difficult process, and I think we're in some growing pains, and we're trying to make it a little smoother and make it more transparent. And also allowing on older systems, we typically consider occupancy of 2 people per bedroom for the sizing of the septic. The state allows after, I think it's the 3rd bedroom, they go to 1 person per bedroom. And we've always stuck at 2 per bedroom. we're gonna go and meet the state standard. We've always been a little more conservative. And so those older systems have a hard time sometimes meeting that size for field and tank. And so we're gonna look at if that's a good tool to kind of increase some efficiencies in that process and get older systems documented and if they're functioning properly, then we'll move on until they need to be replaced. Also, we're talking about really placing a lot of this compliance piece through the title companies, much like the assessor's office does the property declaration. They do that at the closing table to make sure it's properly done, and in the assessor's office, we're going to try to move the transfer of title on septics into a title company. Let them do the paperwork, make sure everything's notarized, and then bring it back to us. We found ourselves in a place that we didn't really want to be, and that was more right in the middle of real estate transactions between buyers and sellers, and it was really becoming transfer of titles becoming a very contentious kind of negotiating tool. And we're really wanting to get outside of that. Our intention is not really to be present in that, more that we've documented systems and that we're making sure that they're functioning properly. And that's really, we don't really want to be present in a real estate transaction. So some changes there, and that meeting I think is May 16th, but it's on the calendar on the site for public health if you're interested in attending. I think that we are looking at maybe trying to facilitate some work around future planning conversations with the lens on economic development, housing, and land use in preparation for a new comp plan in 2025, but trying to get our internal compass really set as we dive into those three areas and the way that they interplay with one another. So I think that we are looking at maybe getting some facilitation with that, maybe community builders. We're waiting for them to kind of get back to us with what they've got capacity-wise. And then level 7 already talked about. So that is everything. I know that's not a tiny amount of stuff, but.
I got one thing before we leave.
Yes.
I won't take over 10 minutes,
Yes.
but I've got a map here and a booklet, and if y'all wanted to snuggle up here and look at it. This is the Minerville Trail. As it goes up into the Fairview area and the development, you see this Fairview loop. We're looking at building 1, 2, 3, 4 new loops on the trail. Add another 6 miles. And it's something that we got the permission when we got our first grant from the Colorado Historical Society that in the future you could build additional loops. And these are very historic areas that we want to build into. And as you know, I think you should know, the Minerville Trail is also an outdoor mining museum. But anyway, the Leadville 7 is going to be right up against this. Where am I at here? Which one?
This is
Oh, yeah, it's right up against where we want to put this in there. And that probably, if the development goes through, you know, maybe that could be a big boom for us too, I don't know, but just keep it in mind as we go along that it's there. And then if you ever want to read these books, we went through it in detail. We've got the routes all taken, noted, and the distances, and we pretty well know where the trails are going to go. This and the mileage on them, they're going to combine, there'll be another 6 miles. But one of them's around the Matchless. Another one is on Friar Hill. Then we've got the big one, it's on Cardinal Hill, and it'll go by that cemetery that's on the front side there and returns back. If you're ever interested, want to go through these and look at them and maybe help support us in this endeavor, let me know.
That's super exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you, Howard. Does that information, is it digital too, or is it just the?
You know, the only thing that we've got digital is is the map.
I have the Friar and Fairview Hill loops
Do you send that?
from Fred Mark. Yeah, I have the maps. I'm trying to find it. Who I sent it to, I thought. Yeah, I made some maps.
You got-
I just don't have the carbonate loop.
Carbonate,
Yeah, so I'll talk to Fred about that.
Okay,
I'm trying to find, I thought I put it on our map, but I definitely sent it in that email I sent to Leadville Seven,
yes, you did, that's right,
kind
that's
of
right.
informing them about this stuff.
okay.
Oh, look at that, how big you can see here in there.
Actually,
That's you.
the county's got two of these books. I think they lost one. I hope they might have lost the other one too.
I have one in my office.
There he goes, he's got them both.
Yeah.
Well, I think, I mean, you talk about a community benefit, and you see in Breckenridge how they've done single track through their neighborhoods
Yeah.
and, yeah, it's, oh yeah, different Abbey, definitely a different Abbey. I mean, talk about a public benefit that they could come to the table with.
Well, it would be, yeah, it would be helpful, and then, you know, we've already got the main trail in. These loops is just gonna add to it, and it's gonna help us as far as our events we put on, especially the local.
Mhm.
And then, the other thing is, it gets people up to see the history, local people as well as foreigners, tourists.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the foreigners.
Do you,
This is a, sorry, this is a map of where the Fairview Hill loop would be compared to the Leadville Seven.
Oh,
Yeah, see, it's right up against it.
I mean, that,
Yeah, that
That's
might be a
pretty-
relatively easy ask. for them.
yeah,
Well, and they had already, I mean, this is a kind of a former railroad grade, I think most of it is, correct?
It is.
And so they had already kind of proposed some sort of trail here in their original sketch that they've withdrawn, but you know, so this kind of, they could have connectivity would be a good thing for them too, right? So-
Right.
And that would be a huge benefit for the neighborhood, yeah.
and Bryce had sent that information out to them to, you know, just kind of encourage them and say, hey, here's actually.
Yeah.
and then
opportunity.
fund it.
Well, that's good. I was gonna bring that up. Spend your
Yeah.
money here. Thank you. That's all I had.
That's great. No, great. Anything else anybody wants to share or?
Guess I can take a motion to adjourn.
I will make the motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Chris, did you have something? Okay.
Thanks, Chris. Alrighty, we're adjourned. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, you guys.
Been a fun
I
meeting.
keep trying to.
Bye,
Bye, Jamie, thank you.